This is the Canon XF305, and I have some real issues with the way the lens works on this camera. Now if you look at the moment, if you look at the LCD, you'll see that I can zoom in and out, and I'm using the zoom rocker over here on the handle. And I actually find this zoom rocker quite difficult to use because it seems to go from very slow zoom, creeping zoom, and I press a little bit more button and it suddenly zooms off. It's really difficult to get those sort of in-between speeds, and there is a little bit of hesitation and jerkiness in there. But now if I want to change my zoom position with my EX, I'm used to being able to just turn the zoom ring and seeing the zoom change, but this doesn't do that. They are separate. And also you'll see that as I zoom in and out, I'm zooming in and out, the zoom ring doesn't move, it stays fixed. So I've no idea what focal length I'm actually working at other than looking at a little bar graph display in the viewfinder. So okay, so I switch from zoom rocker to zoom ring. Now when I press these buttons, nothing happens at all. Now my zoom is controlled by the zoom ring here, and only by the zoom ring. But look at this. Look at what happens. Look at the delay. I turn the zoom ring, and there is a huge delay between the operation of the zoom ring and the operation of the zoom itself. Really massive delay. I'm afraid I don't like that on this camcorder. The iris ring here goes round and round and round, and again, similar delay. I have to wait for the iris to catch up. I can't use that in a news environment. I need to be able to just turn the iris ring and go immediately to the aperture that I've set. I can't wait, and I don't, turning it round and round and round, for it to catch up with me. It does make subtle iris changes very difficult because there is that delay, that lag in the way the iris operates. Now looking at the focus, very similar to the EX1, I have a manual focus ring here, and I can manually set the focus, and I can see what I'm doing in this window here. To switch from the two, there's a button here, and I press the button and I turn this ring here. So now I have a round and round non-calibrated servo focus that's auto and manual, and that's fine, that's great, that's pretty much the same as the EX in the way it operates. But the difference is that now the calibrated readings in here have gone. I've no idea where this lens is set in the manual mode until I turn this ring, if I can find the button, back. See how the numbers appear? Then the focus position changes from where I was before to this. Now with the EX, all you simply do is you slide this ring backwards. Yes, there is a focus change, but you know exactly where that focus is going to change to because your focus distance never gets hidden away as it does on this camera. The LCD is very nice, and the pictures the camera produces are very good, but there are some real ergonomic issues with this camera that this lens nowhere near as nice as the one from an operator's point of view as the EX1 or EX1R. Optically it is very good, can't fault it optically, but ergonomically it's much more like a home video camera than I've become used to on a professional camera. Now moving around to this side, here we have the zoom control. It's fixed, there's no rotation with it, and it's actually really quite a small handle, just like the original EX1. And if you remember the original EX1, lots and lots of people complaining about that because the handle was very small, it meant the camera wanted to flop away to the side. And guess what? This one is actually even worse because it's very front heavy. You have this huge lens on the front, it tends to flop away to the side and forwards. Now the EX, this is no worse than the EX1, to be honest. To be fair, it's no worse than the EX1. It's certainly no better than an EX1. But it isn't as good as the new EX1R, which now has that much larger hand grip that really is nice to get a grip on. Now look at my thumb here. My thumb is here. Where's the record button? It's way down here. I want it here on my thumb, where my thumb goes, not down here. This is really bad ergonomically. I don't know who designs cameras these days, but they're not cameramen. They really are not. The LCD on the back, the LCD viewfinder, very, very good. Can't fault that at all. Really nice and sharp, good size LCD screen, nice to work with. I really like this, I really rate this. Now looking at the battery compartment here, bit of a floppy, flimsy plastic, and just like the EX1, this switch on here that goes from camera to media, even though it's got a raised green bit, see the raised green bit in here to make it press. Now the problem with this is when you put the camera to camera, okay, so you want to go back to off as opposed to straight across to media, the green thing locks it, so you have to push the green button down to move it across. I find that I keep doing that, going all the way from one end to the other. It's really difficult to just get that middle off position. Two really cheap and nasty springs in the back of there. Now this I have a big problem with as well. Look at this. I can actually put this battery in at a slight angle, lock it in. No, actually it's not going to go in at all now. There, it's in. But this battery isn't actually seated correctly. It's a slight angle. And getting it out's a pain as well. This is really not very cleverly designed. You really have to have the camera down on a flat surface because the battery has to ride in on the bottom of this battery compartment. I mean, you can put it in all kinds of angles and sort of slide it down and close the compartment, and you think the battery's in there, and in fact in some cases the camera will work, but in fact the battery is actually quite loose. Now around the side here, proper BNC connectors. Full marks to Canon for this. HD SDI, Genlock timecode out, and video 2 out. All proper, good quality BNC connectors. But then that's kind of let down by all these sort of floppy, plasticky flaps here that cover all these other connectors here. Overall, it is very good. It is very solid. It's predominantly plastic, but it's a nice quality plastic. This LCD screen, very, very good. Flips in under here and you push it out, and you can actually have it on the other side as well. One thing that you can't do easily, what's really nice on any camcorder, especially these handy cams, is to be able to have it out to the side and flat against the side of the camera, so that you can stand to the side of the camera looking at the LCD for doing an interview. And well, you can kind of do it by tilting it forwards a bit, but would have been nice if you could lay it flat against the side of the camera. The EX doesn't do that either, I'm afraid to say. So again, designed by an engineer, not by a user. Now the other thing in common with a lot of these cameras is that the microphone assembly here, and in this case the LCD as well, sticks out well beyond the end of the lens. So this makes using a matte box very, very difficult. Again, a fault shared by the EX. What I don't understand here is the EX has been out for 2 years. Why this camera has these same issues as the EX? I know they're different manufacturers, but do people not look at what the competition is doing? So again, this is a real pain because you've got to make sure that your matte box can fit underneath here.